Hello and welcome once again. It is Homo Politicus on Enterprise TV. I am Cyril Abaku. Now today, let's take this conversation. DSS arrests NLC President Joe Ajaero. The beat goes on. The 83rd Attorney General of the United States, Loretta Lynch, is famously quoted as saying that, quote, "The power to arrest, to deprive a citizen of liberty, must be used fairly, responsibly, and without bias," end quote. But ours is a climb in which it is difficult to tell between law enforcement working in the public interest or in the interest of any other for that matter. Now, the story is this. The State Security Services, SSS, otherwise known as the Department of State Services, the DSS, have arrested Nigerian Labour Congress President Joe Ajaero. The arrest reportedly happened at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. We understand Ajaero was about to board a flight to the United Kingdom for an official assignment when he was hijacked, when he was picked up, rather. Although the reasons and details of the arrest are still sketchy, sources say he has been handed over to the National Intelligence Agency. That's like, say, Nigeria's External Intelligence Gathering Agency. Sources say Ajaero was billed to attend the Conference of Trade Union Congress, TUC, in the UK. Well, wherever this leads, it hardly sounds like the much-needed shortcut to the joy Nigerians are desperately in need of at a time like this. My guest in the studio to do justice to this subject with me is none other than the ebullient, unpardonable Emeka Madunago. Emeka, welcome to the program.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hello, viewers.
Yes, for the record, Emeka is a journalist of no fewer than 30 years standing. He has seen this sort of things time and time again. So, Emeka, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
If it counts for anything, I might as well tell the viewer that, on a day like this, I have to be on this side of the conversation, standing in for your regular host, Citizen Jones Osen. Emeka, Joe Ajaero has been arrested again. First was a summon by the police. Next was a second summon by the police, and now the DSS has picked him up. This can be a case of mistaken identity.
Well, you never can tell. You never can tell. In your prologue, you took the words out of my mouth. I recall in 2002, during the petrol subsidy strike, that the then NLC president, Adam Soshomole, was arrested at the same Nnamdi Azikiwe airport and dragged on the tarmac by DSS, then by SSS agents. So Nnamdi Azikiwe airport is the Muritala Muhammad airport, actually hold the record of the highest number of arrests.
But Emeka, the airports are not to blame. Man's choices has been out of the action.
No, you see, the thing is this. I give it to them. It is their duty to, I'm talking about the security agencies to, make arrests and all of that. But the point is, you find out that in the case of Ajaero, it's so clear that this administration is actually jittery. And is trying to, fire too many shots at different targets at the same time. And that has never worked. That has never worked in favor of any administration. You see, so early in the day, you're already building up enemies. In fact, from the first minute that Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood on the days to take his oath as president, just within a few minutes after taking his oath as president, he shattered the goodwill. Traditionally, reserved for incoming presidents, by saying fuel subsidy is gone. So from then on, everything started pointing south. Now, what has he done since then? Trying to use propaganda to fight back, lies, half-truths, outright mischief, labeling people, pointing fingers at others except himself. Labour actually tried to be understanding, in terms of, saying that, well, you say you are going to carry out reforms. All right. That we will now negotiate for a better minimum wage. After going back and forth, they landed at 70,000 we took Tinubu a long time to, sign into law. But up till now, that minimum wage has not been implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Then came the End Bad Governance protest. And then, then Ajaero came out to say that the police should stop the massacre of protesters because people were the police were just shooting at any and everybody. They were even attacking journalists. A soldier who was just deployed, against the law, the rules of engagement, against the law. Soldiers have no business
in internal affairs.
Internal security issues like protests.
Mm-hmm.
He just quickly opened fire on a 16-year-old protester and killed the boy for no reason. Brazen, misuse of
lethal force.
And then the military said they had arrested him. So Ajaero now said things like this are not they are not consistent with the practice of democracy. Within a few days, the Inspector General of Police, who was clearly, looking for a way, forget about all the things they tried to say, that he wasn't lobbying for a tenure extension. The actions he took before his term at that time was due to end on September 4 clearly showed desperation. And then, now, they invited, first of all, they raided Labour House.
Who raided Labour House? Was it police?
The police. It was the police because the DSS denied. They said they were not involved. Let's raided DSS house.
Because Ajaero himself or the NLC had said that the raid was undertaken by the DSS, ostensibly maybe because those who went there went dressed in police uniform. But the fact is, there was a WhatsApp group of journalists who report labor. Okay, it was on the platform that I think it was Ajaero that dropped the message and said, look, as at 9 whatever today, these people they've gone to office and they've assigned the whole place. Later on, the police we now had that somebody was running a bookshop there where he was selling literature that was inimical to, well, not inimical. They said that taught people how to organize revolution or organize protests.
You see, let me tell you, when people have clearly gone or clearly with their hands thrown away goodwill, that's why you see all these things. First of all, they said they saw literature the MLC, was using to instigate protests. From there, the story moved to the fact that it was a bookshop. A bookshop owner. Remember, within the same period, the same Nigerian police saw some students from Poland on an election program who were just standing by the road taking photographs. They arrested them quickly. Then there's who was it? One of, because they were just talking, so it wasn't even easy to follow. Came up and said that some police citizens had been arrested. Do you know those people were quietly released?
They were.
No shame. They came up again. That a Spaniard was released. A sponsor. They said they were sponsors
of, yes,
the protest. Not that they saw some people from Poland, young people, who were just standing by the road. You see, all of these things just point to the lack of professionalism. Yes, in the security services. That's why you see kidnappers, you see bandits, insurgents having a free day. Because why? They lack that capacity to actually deal with the real enemies of the nation.
Yes.
So what they look for are soft targets.
And scapegoats.
People who will not reply with leather force. And what are they looking for? Everybody is now a season of eye service. Everybody wants to please the man in power who clearly knows that he has totally bungled administration, bungled everything.
So let's come back to Joe Ajaero. The DSS handing him over to the NIA. These are very egregious, very big issues because ideally the NIA, like the CIA, like the MI6 and like the Mossad, to name a few, well, ideally shouldn't have any business, any matter in internal intelligence gathering surveillance.
If you look at the
so now him being arrested by internal intelligence and then handed over to foreign intelligence, what could it really mean?
No, it's very simple. You see, the DSS is now turning itself into a notorious gate man. A notorious gate man. And you see, when you begin to act in a manner that the whole world begins to look at you like, wait a minute, you're acting like a rogue state. Reciprocal actions will follow. Let me tell you something, just mark my words. In the next few months, you will see at different airports, Nigerian government officials will be stopped. They may be holding diplomatic passports, but they will be stopped for checks. Why? When the world is now telling you that, hey, wait a minute, you are the ones calling for foreign investment. You say you are trying to improve ease of doing business. But what are you doing? You are turning your airports to places that people cannot easily pass through.
Yeah.
You see many airports in the world today are now being transformed beyond just gateways of passage.
Yes.
To leisure centers, to entertainment centers, lifestyle malls. You don't see that they are making the airports more welcoming. But Nigeria, we still choose to live in centuries past. And that's why, you don't see any progress. Because why? You have handed over the case to NIA, maybe to initiate an extradition process against the Briton. The poor man that was said, that they claimed, was the sponsor of the protest, one of the sponsors of the protest. Now, so having done that, you have the DSS in a characteristic, anti-democratic manner, grabbed Ajaero, handed him over to NIA, maybe for questioning. I won't be surprised if Ajaero still flies to London today. I won't be surprised. You see, let me tell you something. Nigeria's biggest problem is the ego. The ego and greed of people in power. Put me anywhere. I can give you examples. I've been in Germany over 30 years. And I've seen how these people have destroyed successive governments.
Terrible.
Why?
Terrible.
You have Ajaero. The police invited him. What they called him for was different from what they were asking him. You wrote a letter and said, Ajaero, Nigeria Labour Congress. Somebody characteristically said, no, remove president. And then they are, it was a clerical error. Like they keep making clerical errors. Then the next thing, in the letter, that if you don't appear, we will arrest you. What's the meaning of that?
No, but even in the case of the DSS now, what would have been the difference between inviting him to come to your office and going to
it is clear that the DSS even doesn't have any connection with this matter. Because they are held over what?
But you know that some weeks ago they arrested Adejomo Soyinka.
They said it was mistaken identity.
But initially they said he was arrested based on
a request by a sister agency. So what it has shown that sister agency that said you want Soyinka to be arrested definitely will be the NIA. You understand? Definitely will be the NIA. So, and I don't know. I just hope that this Juwon Soyinka. What I'm playing on my mind is that these people may not have actually, removed names from, many names from their watch list. Lanre Arobundade was arrested, remember, when he was coming in.
Yes.
And they said it was based on an old watch list that had not been updated. You understand? So when all these things keep happening, it now tells you also about issues of competence.
Yes.
Because the issue about Lanre Arobundade actually dates to the military over 25 years ago. So why would you keep people on the watch list concerning something that doesn't even concern you? Because even Tinubu himself was on the watch list at the time. When he said to them, he wasn't on the watch list till Abacha died. And they named them, Soyinka and others. So I just hope it's not that maybe they were targeting Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate. And when they just saw Soyinka,
they just don't have time.
It was just maybe the case of.
Just to stretch.
No, you remember the case of
imagination.
You remember the case of the Roman mob now. Sina the poet and Sina the conspirator. They didn't see Sina the conspirator. They saw Sina the poet. And then they now told him, you now said, I'm not Sina the conspirator. They said, well, Sina is Sina.
Yes.
And then eventually they said, no. This was a case of mistaken identity. Then now look at Ajaero. You're already exposing the fact that the NIA is investigating, and then you're arresting somebody without even a court order. You have not initiated extradition proceedings against any of the people you named. You're already arresting people. How? The law says you cannot hold somebody beyond 48 hours. Let me tell you something. You see, under Abacha, under Babangida, people were using power anyhow. But I remember what Olisa Abakwaba told us after Abacha died at a hotel. You know, he said, "Do you know some of the SSS guys that harassed him, punched him one time punched him in the eye? You know, that they later came back to beg him.
They had to.
So now, how many times will people keep, doing the same thing over and over and over again?
And believing
you know that this is a democracy. You know that one day in future, Tinubu won't be there forever. One day in future, a government will arise and say, enough of all this.
Yeah.
Was it not John Kufuor of Ghana? He came in and removed, he scrapped the Cybercrime Act. So there could be a government that will say, wait a minute, we don't want to be tampering with citizens' liberties. Enough of what is abused. And then everybody who has been involved in that will be brought to book. So, you see, all of this is just a case of, people in security, practicing their own definition of democracy. But you see, democracy is democracy. Citizens' liberties are citizens' liberties. They should remember what led to the downfall of Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, of course, when the Democratic National Convention headquarters was raided, and then what happened after that? Eventually Richard Nixon had to resign. So, you see, all of these things, raiding places, picking people up, you now got a judge, instead of addressing the protesters' demands.
But let's take this home. Let's take this home. Emeka, what do you make of the supposedly shrinking space for civic engagement? I mean, if you begin to arrest journalists,
we will not back down. Look, we will not back down. Look, when I was a reporter years ago, the IG, what was his rank? Was ADC to Tinubu as a governor. Today is IG. Soldier go, soldier come. Barracks will remain.
Yeah.
All of these people will leave. Is it not 4-year tenure? They will leave. But one thing they should know, my advice, my simple advice to them is, they should remember that posterity will judge. What kind of legacy are they going to leave behind? It doesn't matter if some power-hungry, power-crazy people in Tinubu's government say, go after them. It's your own place to advise them that the polity is already overheated. It's already too hot. Let us not do some of these things. Let's try to build some goodwill. You have increased well. People are smarting from it. Look at the highways are empty. Markets, traders just sit for money tonight, not selling anything.
Yes, no.
And then you are still, it's just as if this, I don't want to extend it to the spiritual. But you see, when people begin to act in a certain manner, of course, well-wishers will do well to say, wait a minute, I hope there's nothing, this whole thing that is going on, there's nothing beyond, beyond this that, there's nothing beyond the ordinary. Because there's more to this than meets the eye. You are doing this, appears this simple administration that should actually be in the vanguard of promoting, liberties, promoting democracy, promoting.
By far.
Is actually doing worse than Sani Abacha. Abacha went to all except, but Tinubu is now even going overboard to prove what? To prove what? That's the question I'm asking. Because, you see, during the end governance protest, 40 people were killed. Of course, those are human lives that were lost. And it's very sad. A huge toll like that. During EndSARS,
it's terrible.
We didn't have that toll.
It's terrible.
But at the end of the day, now we hear that soldiers are running away from the Nigerian army, even though the Nigerian army has denied it. But of course, what do you expect them to say? The point is this: I would just advise these people, tone down, because when remember Buhari's time. I remember Buhari's time when they wanted to declare bandits terrorists. They were running after Nnamdi Kanu, and then they got one judge to just quickly give an order, declaring IPOB, a terrorist organization, blah 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 blah, and all of that. And then they wanted to now. Somebody warned them that you cannot have too many of your citizens on a list as terrorists, as suspected terrorists. Don't do that. Because people will begin to ask questions. It's not that the international community doesn't know, but they'll begin to ask questions. What happened eventually? Look at how Buhari's administration was declared as an enemy of Christians, that they were allowing the persecution of Christians. All of these things have a way of coming to play. But you see, arresting Ajaero at the airport is just a defeatist measure, because you know his house, you know his office. Ajaero has always made himself available. The other time when there was a strike, general strike in Imo State, thugs believed to be hired by the state government attacked him. At the end of the day, has the situation been solved? No, those thugs who attacked him, the money has finished now. The petrol price has gone up. Let me see whether it's from the process of thuggery, they'll pay their children's school fees and all of that. You know, one thing people don't, the biggest problem of man is that man doesn't learn from history. And that's the sad thing. But one thing I do know is that they've said this, gone this way, and gone this way. Ajaero is president of NLC. NLC owns the Labour House. Now, that makes Ajaero the chief landlord of Labour House.
Yes.
But there are administrative staff in charge of all these things. The administrative staff in charge of all this, and there are levels in the labor hierarchy. So for you to not be running after Ajaero because he had a tenant that you allege is a terrorist. I mean, it beggars belief. It beggars belief, because the point is, you should actually invite those MLC officials. Because it's just like a landlord, taking tenants in. You can only ask basic questions. If one of them, if any of them has has engaged or is engaging in unlawful activity, it may be difficult for the landlord to know. And then the routine thing is that, okay, if the security agencies get across the landlord, yes, they ask him questions and all of that. And then when they see how, you let him go. But in Nigeria, no. The ego of one big man could get in the way until they just find out that, look, they've just been, running, just wasting time. And that is the thing. Then when people now file fundamental, for the enforcement of the fundamental rights, they start running up. And no, we now start manufacturing excuses. I just advise these people. Yes, the police have started this investigation.
Exactly.
But grabbing the matter from the police is also one of the markers of the disconnect in the security architecture of Nigeria. Yes, it happened under Buhari, it still continues.
Yeah.
You saw during the Ember governance protest, the military was struggling to talk, DSS talking, police talking, civil defense, everybody
had something to say.
This one said it was treason. Chief of Defense Staff, without any investigating report, he just quickly said, carrying a flag is treason. And then some people have now taken people to court for treason, not treasonable felony, for treason, for waving flags. Well, they will have their day in court, because you will have to come and prove. So let me tell you something. It only just shows that this government is actually in disarray. But I'll just advise Tinubu. Everybody will know this administration as Tinubu administration. You should tone down. You should backtrack on some of these things.
Yes.
Don't shrink the civil space, because let me tell you something. There's what is called the theory of unintended consequences. When you take certain actions, you try to shrink the civil space because you are now looking at yourself as an emperor.
Yeah.
Some things might just happen and put you on the spot in such a situation that even when you have genuine reasons to do certain things, you will find yourself having to go overboard to defend the legitimacy of those things. And at the end of the day, the question will be asked, you have become president, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Go after bandits, go after kidnappers, go after the people who are causing problems go after criminal herdsmen.
Yeah. Bandits.
Leave the people alone. Leave the people alone. All those policemen you are sending, go and do this. Send them into the forest.
Sambisa, I mean.
Send them into the forest so that let them go and test their firepower there. It's not testing their firepower on protesters, on armed protesters. That they looted this, they looted that. If people looted, arrest those who loot. There is, there are, public affray, destruction of property or arson. There are, provisions in the laws, to deal with those things. But not a situation where you pick some people, you bring them together, and they say they don't know each other. My advice, that's all I'll advise Tinubu.
That could really be a tall one coming, and that is if they see it really coming. DSS arrests NLC President Joe Ajaero. The beat goes on. Well, this is where we'll drop anchor on today's episode of Homo Politicus. I have been speaking with Emeka Madonago. Emeka, once again, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We do hope that the government finds some sense to know the right thing to do. Ajaero was on his way to the UK. One did wonders why or how he hadn't been invited, or perhaps the prior notice wasn't given, and all of a sudden you pick him up at the airport, and then as we hear, hand him over to the NIA. That must be an offender of the highest degree. But again, what has Joe Ajaero done? We don't know. Maybe we'll get to know. Until Homo Political comes away again, stay with Enterprise TV. Bye for now.